We begin with breaking news, and we are working to confirm all of the details on this. But Israel right now, through its military, says it has just killed a Hezbollah commander in a strike on the country's capital, Beirut, Lebanon. This would be a development of epic proportions that they could hit that commander inside that city. So we are following that. More reporting to come just shortly. And I want to mention the timing of this. President Biden just wrapping up his comments, the last that he will make as the commander-in-chief of the United States at the United Nations General Assembly. And he spoke some words about how a two-state solution and two sides and all these things were, going to kind of come together and that America was committed. But he did not give a map of leadership through this moment. We'll get into it. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Exactly what Biden said about the conflict moments ago. Let's watch.
Since October 7, we've also been determined to prevent a wider war that engulfs the entire region. Hezbollah, unprovoked, joined the October 7 attack, launching rockets into Israel. Almost a year later, too many on each side of the Israeli-Lebanon border remain displaced. A full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible.
The Pentagon has announced the United States is sending what it calls now. Now, when this news broke this time yesterday, they didn't give any details of how many of our military men and women would be now going to the Middle East. Now he's saying, Major General Ryder, that it'll be a small number. Well, we have 40,000 of them there, so I guess smaller than 40,000. Details on this would be important, too. How much more does this commit us as a possibility of wider war is breaking out in that region, with Israel at the center, fighting in both directions, north and then toward Hamas and the Gaza Strip, our staunchest ally in that region? And here's what that fight looks like on that northern border with Lebanon. Israel saying it has finished a second wave now of strikes on Hezbollah targets today. They are 7 hours ahead of us. So when we show you fresh live video, you'll know that it's coming upon darkness there. The Israeli Defense Force also confirms a targeted strike in Lebanon's capital of Beirut, and that is where I started this hour. Lebanon says that at least 558 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes yesterday, the deadliest day for that country in nearly 2 decades. Now, remember when they started hitting Israel with a ramp up? It was a few hours after the massacre by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. So by the morning of October 8th, Hezbollah had begun to hit Israel, and they have not stopped. Tens of thousands of people on both sides of that border between Israel and Lebanon have had to be evacuated out of that zone. Southern Lebanon, a war zone. Israel is hitting targets, terror targets, inside that country. Iran's president is also at the United Nations General Assembly, where he said he will keep backing the Hezbollah terrorists. Republicans say it is time to get tougher on Iran.
They funded Hamas, Hezbollah, and put it into their war machine. We're reaping what Biden has sown. The people of Israel are reaping the bad policy choices of Biden and Harris.
Every time you hear de-escalate from this administration, Iran escalates because they smell weakness and they seek advantage.
We have a stake in ensuring Israel emerges from this conflict stronger, and these terrorist organizations and their Iranian patron weaker.
Our correspondent Nate Foy is in Tel Aviv, Israel, with more. Nate.
Harris, breaking just within the past few minutes, Israel is confirming that an airstrike in Beirut has killed another Hezbollah commander, this time a leading figure in the group's rocket division. His name is Ibrahim Kabisi. So take a look at this video from Beirut as Israel's pressure campaign on Hezbollah continues, taking out its leaders. Remember, an Israeli strike killed several Hezbollah commanders, including the group's elite Radwan unit commander, Ibrahim Akil, in Beirut last last week. Israel is again warning residents to get out of harm's way today. According to Lebanon's health ministry, 558 people were killed yesterday, more than 1,800 others injured, and that number is growing today. Meanwhile, falling shrapnel injured an Israeli soldier in the north. Hezbollah is not slowing down after firing 250 rockets yesterday. Here's northern Israel this morning. Take a look. And Harris, the people who live here in northern Israel have been fired on nearly every day by Hezbollah since October 8th of last year.
It's tough. I mean, there's a lot of stress, mostly because of all the rockets coming up, but there's a feeling of finally we're taking action.
Take a look at this direct hit in the north, Harris. Unbelievably, nobody was injured here, but you see a Hezbollah rocket smashed into the side of the road as people pulled over there. Meanwhile, intense fire continues today. So far, just today, Hezbollah has fired an additional 155 rockets, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promises that the Israeli fire on Hezbollah will continue. We'll send it back to you.
Great reporting as always, Nate. Thank you. Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican of Alaska, member of the Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committees, and he is also the Republican representative for the United States at the United Nations. A big week for you, and so glad to have you on set with me.
Great to be on the show, Harris. Thanks.
Absolutely. We don't know what Kamala Harris's foreign policy is going to be. We just saw the last speech by the sitting president, and it was not strong considering the breaking news right now. No. I mean, there is a war now across that line and between Lebanon and Israel. If this is what we get under President Biden, what in the world would we get under Vice President Kamala Harris if she wins the White House?
Well, it's such an important question. And you just saw the speech, right? Biden mentions climate change 6 times in Iran twice. I mean, if that's not indicative of this administration's priorities, Biden, Harris, I don't know. But what we've seen is chaos throughout the world. His last foreign policy speech, I think Americans and people around the world need to ask this question: is America and our allies safer today than it was 4 years ago? The answer is absolutely not. And one of the biggest areas in which that has been true and a failure of this administration is the appeasement of Iran. That Iran is the agent of chaos everywhere. Your reporting right now is just showing that. They have appeased Iran in every sphere. And as you mentioned, I think with Kamala Harris, it would be way worse. And you got to compare the record of the Trump administration with regard to Iran, where we reestablished deterrence, put them in a box, crushed them economically, killed their terrorist leaders, and launched a peace initiative with the Abraham Accords. Such a contrast in terms of records.
Well, and what's really dangerous is that we don't know what she would do.
That's right.
Because we don't know who's making these decisions now. I mean, Biden has been about as lame duck as you could be. They took him off the top of the ticket, and now he moves on. He even talked about that at the UN, saying it was his decision. To bring it up there seemed out of context. He had to have known. And I'm not on the Armed Services Committee for the Senate, but I would think that there was even a heads up for you. Maybe it wasn't confirmed, but you knew they took somebody out.
Yeah. And look, in the fact that the president's up there saying, hey, I left voluntarily, that's a little bit rich, because the whole world knows what happened. But again, this issue of where this administration has been relative to the Trump administration, this is a really interesting election because you have 2 records. One of the Trump administration when they were in power in terms of foreign policy and national security, and one of Biden-Harris. And these records couldn't be more different. And for the American people, much more security for our country and our allies under President Trump.
This seemed to have a rapid ramp up in the Middle East. And in fact, I'll get more to this in a second about who we're sending and how many. But a new Wall Street Journal opinion piece says Biden's diplomatic magical thinking, quote, no administration in American history has been as committed to Middle East diplomacy as this one. Yet, has any other administration's diplomats ever had less success? Your reaction?
Well, one thing that you have to, when you look at history, diplomacy has to be backed by strength. And that was a great Wall Street Journal piece because they mention all the diplomacy, but they also mention this fact about the Biden-Harris administration. They put forward budget cuts to our Department of Defense every single year. So the Republicans were all about peace through strength. That was in our platform in Milwaukee this past summer. The Biden administration, Biden-Harris administration, right now, Harris, their budget shrinks the Army, shrinks the Navy, shrinks the Marine Corps. You can't have effective diplomacy as you are gutting the readiness of your military.
All right, I want to get to two things. First of all, Major General Ryder told us yesterday, and then it filled in the blanks a little bit, saying, well, it's a small number that they're sending to the Middle East to shore up the 40,000 who were there. Well, that's anything less than 40,000. What is happening, and you're on armed services, what is happening that you can tell us that's next for the United States in that region? And keeping in mind, we have to back Israel.
We 100% have to back Israel. And one of the things that's been so frustrating with this administration is that some of the most effective tools that we have in terms of backing Israel in reestablishing deterrence with regard to Iran aren't necessarily military tools. Let me give you the best example. The Trump administration undertook maximum sanctions against the Iranian oil and gas industry. By the end of the Trump administration, Iran's economy was in free fall. They were exporting only about 200,000 barrels a day. They had about $4 billion in foreign reserves, which was nothing. The Biden-Harris administration comes in day one, they stop enforcing these sanctions. What does that do? Iran is exporting almost 3 million barrels a day, has close to $100 billion in foreign reserves. And what are they doing with that? They're funding and equipping and training Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas. So a lot of this appeasement has been just reversing what the Trump administration did so well, and you're seeing the chaos all over the Middle East.
All right.
The President, Biden and Harris, should at least reimpose these sanctions.
I have yet to hear her talk about it.
No, they won't.
I mean, they can do what they do, but it's time to talk to the American people. You broke some news with me in the hallway as we were coming to set. I want to just take a moment. Russia.
Yeah.
We cannot take our eyes off Russia. You said a fourth incursion. What's happening
Actually,
in Alaska?
5. In the last 2 weeks, we've had 5 Russian Bear bomber incursions into our AIDAs, our airspace. Our great men and women in the military have gone up and intercepted these aircraft. By the way, Harris, just about a month and a half ago, we had a joint Russian-Chinese Bear bomber incursion into the Alaska airspace. Strategic bombers with fighters. We had to go turn them around. But again, this is showing the weakness of the Biden-Harris administration. This level of aggressiveness from the 2 biggest adversaries in my part of the world, Alaska, the Arctic, the North Pacific, is unprecedented. They've never done these kind of joint patrols. They're doing it with regard to the Navy, too, in Alaska waters. So we have a lot going on in terms of aggressiveness of our adversaries. And the best way to address that is to regrow our military. And this administration won't do that.
Senator Dan Sullivan of the great state of Alaska, and representing all of us as the United States at the UN today, you brought a lot to bear today, and I'm appreciative of you being here.
Thank you. Great to be back on the show.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.